Hey guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to my channel. You guys, it is officially October, which means it's another month for a monthly TBR. And October is officially kind of like spooky season, how we dub it here in the United States. I usually don't read spooky reads, but there are a couple of genres that I typically gravitate towards more in the fall time, like historical fiction, fantasy, mysteries, things that kind of make me feel cozy, kind of maybe add a little bit of more suspense, I feel like is a really good type of a read for October and for fall. I am a chronic mood reader. It is really hard for me to stick to a TBR, but I think if I tailor my TBR more towards genres that I prefer, then perhaps I'll be able to get through my entire monthly TBR, or I'll be able to read like more than half of the selections that I make. So today's TBR is specifically curated around genres that I typically gravitate towards in the fall. They're genres that are my go-tos for feeling cozy, that kind of give me, potential 5-star reads as well. I have noticed that in the last month or two, I have not read a single 5-star read, which is a little bit disheartening, and I think I'm falling into a bit of a reading slump. So with that in mind, I think just going back to genres that I know personally I typically go for or rate really highly is a really good fix to get out of a reading slump. Hopefully one of these books that I've selected for October will be a 5-star read. So with that being said, we're gonna kind of go through the genres of picks that I have for today. The first genre that I have is historical fiction, and with historical fiction there's a couple of subgenres in that, and the first one that I have for October is A Fall of Marigolds by Susan Meisner, I believe is how you say her name. This, I believe, is a pure historical fiction. We're kind of following two different timelines. One is 1911 on Ellis Island in New York, and the other is 2011, basically just following the aftermath of the World Trade Center crashing during 9/11. I think this will be really interesting. I really enjoy books that have two different timelines or two different perspectives. I think it gives a really good cohesive flow to the story. It gives really good context and background. I've never read anything by this author before. I believe, I don't know if she is a Christian author or if she incorporates faith into her novels. But I'm really intrigued. I'm excited to kind of see what this one's all about. Without giving too much away, this is basically just following two different perspectives of women. And essentially it can be summed up with: a beautiful scarf connects two women touched by tragedy in this compelling emotional novel from the author of As Bright as Heaven and The Last Year War. So I think basically the scarf, sorry, my husband's mowing. But yes, this is a true, pure historical fiction, A Fall of Marigolds. Very excited to get into this. It seems a little bit heavy, especially since both of these perspectives are kind of dealing with tragedy of their own. Next up in historical fiction, I would be remiss if I did not include a Kristen Hanna book. And we have The Four Winds. I've yet to read this book. It's been on my TBR, for probably 2 years now, which is almost a cardinal sin at this point. I really need to flesh out some of the books that have been on my TBR the longest. And this is a story about the Dust Bowl in Texas in the 1920s. We're following one perspective, I believe, and her name is Elsa. And so this just kind of explores kind of the hardships that people go through during the Dust Bowl, what was kind of going on in this point in time in history in the United States. And this is also going to be a tearjerker. If you're familiar with Kristen Hanna's writing, she is notorious for making me cry. Her stories are very emotional. There's a lot of depth to them. And yeah, I'm excited to read this. I think her writing is potentially going to be a 5-star read for me. Next up within the historical fiction genre, there is a subcategory, and this one kind of is like a mashup of genres, and that is A Lovely War by Julie Berry. This is actually my book club's pick of the month for October. like fantasy historical fiction mashup. Think about like Divine Rivals and how that took place in this like made up world. It has a little bit of a historical element. There's some like gods that come into play. This is very similar to that in that kind of regard. So basically we're following Aphrodite, who is on trial, and she's put on trial, and she's basically just telling the story of all these different couples that fell in love during the war times of World War I and World War II. It sounds absolutely fantastic. I've heard great things about this book. A lot of you guys on YouTube, Bookstagram, whatnot have rated this like 5 stars, 4 stars. I really anticipate that this could be a 5-star read for me. I love anything that has a little bit of like a romance element to it. And it's historical fiction with a little bit of fantasy, magical realism, if you will. So yeah, lovely war. So that concludes our historical fiction genre for October. Moving on, I want to get into some mysteries, mystery thrillers, and I have 2 that I'm very excited for the month of October. The first is a book by Shari Lapana. It's called A Stranger in the House. This sounds fantastic, and I'm going to read the back of this for you because I think it sums it up really, really well. So Karen was home making dinner for her husband. She was expecting him any second. The phone rang. It was the call she hoped she'd never get. She jumped in her car and raced to a neighborhood she thought she'd never visit. She peered into the dark, deserted building and braced herself for the worst. After that, she remembered nothing. They told her husband Tom she'd been in an accident. She must have lost control of her car as she sped through the roughest part of town. The police suspect that Karen was up to no good, but her husband refuses to believe it. Her best friend is not so sure, and even Karen herself doesn't know what to believe. Then she realizes something in her house has been moved. Someone's been there, and now everyone is a stranger. Everyone has a secret, one they might even kill for. I am so excited for this. I've never read anything by Shari Lapana, but the reviews on the back say that is good luck sleeping at night, smart and suspenseful, ending you'll never see coming. I am really missing like a pure thriller kind of a book. I've read quite a few mysteries this year, but not too many thrillers. It could potentially have almost horror-leaning elements to it, which could be really good for the month of October, like spooky season, like I mentioned. So I'm really excited that this one has made it to my TBR. Next, within mysteries, I have a classic, and that is Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. This is not a very long book. Like, I think in total it is like 250 pages, so it is not a long one. Agatha Christie has quickly become one of my favorite classic authors. She's written, gosh, probably upwards of like 50 different mystery books among other types of novels. And I really, really enjoyed Death on the Nile. I believe I gave that 5 stars this year. And then I read Murder on the Orient Express, which I believe I gave 4. Also very, very good if you have not read them. This one is loosely following kind of a similar plot. Her stories are very formulaic in the sense that at the very beginning we're introduced to a murder, and then our detective Hercule Poirot comes onto scene. He investigates, goes through different witness accounts, puts together the clues, and then the murder is solved at the very end. To me, that's very comforting, very cozy. It's a little bit predictable, which is fine. I think that's kind of the intent with going into books like these. I am going in with the sense that I know I'm not going to have to think too hard. I know that there's going to be a good outcome at the end. There could be a couple of really good twists, but I know that Hercule Poirot is going to solve the murder and the case will be solved. And I absolutely love that. So anything with Hercule Poirot in it is amazing to me. It's probably my favorite like mystery series that Agatha Christie has written. Next up, we're moving into our last genre, which is like romance and fantasy. I kind of mashed these together just because the fantasy book I picked also has like undertones of romance to it. But with that being said, the very first romance book that I have is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I've actually already started this book and I'm almost done with it. As you can well see, I'm probably like 50-ish pages, 40 pages away from finishing it. I'll probably finish it this weekend. And this is a really interesting story because it is following this couple that's in a very toxic relationship, and the relationship is based off of like getting back at the other person, hurting the other person for making them feel better about the situation. It's very like toxic and icky, circular. They can't seem to get out of it. There's a lot of things and antics that the other does to cause jealousy or question the integrity of the relationship. There's some love triangles and side romances involved with this, if you will. Yeah, and it's written in a way where you feel like you are hearing the conversations of this couple, of these side characters. To me, I'm not so sure I enjoy the toxic relationship element of this story or this trope. It's not really sitting with me super well. I find myself rolling my eyes a lot throughout this book and just wanting it to kind of be over. If I'm being honest, there's just quite a lot of drama. Like, every chapter is drama. We're also getting both perspectives of Magnolia and the male interest, which is BJ, and it's very much like a lustful relationship, not so much of a love-based relationship. It is different, it is unique, it is interesting. If you're into like Love Island, the TV show, I would recommend this book because it's written basically how those people talk. The last book that I have for my October TBR is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I read ACOTAR in August. This is the second installment into the ACOTAR series. It ended on a cliffhanger, and this is a chunky book, you guys. I don't know if I'll be able to finish this for the month of October, considering I have quite a few other books on my TBR. I'm gonna try to give it a go though, and maybe I can start this towards the end as we move into November. I feel like the winter time, late fall, is a really good season to jump back into fantasy, and I haven't read a lot of fantasy over the summer. It's been a while, so I'm really looking forward to what this book has in store. A lot of people said it's their favorite, so that makes me really excited to read it. Okay, you guys, that concludes our October TBR. We have quite a few books here, and some of them are on backwards, but that's all right. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you would like to see a reading vlog of any of these, please comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one soon. Bye!